Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local.
Great. So let's move on to the third discussion here about Google's new Locator Plus store locator for enterprises, which has raised a number of interesting questions and thoughts. So tell us what's going on, David.
So apparently, as you pointed out in your write-up on this, Greg, that this is not that new of a product. It was announced at least as early as, I think, June of this year. So it's been out in the wild for, call it 5 months at this point. I had not seen it. I hadn't seen any promotions for it until an email arrived in my inbox this week as a manager on a bulk verified Google Business Profile account saying, hey, check out our Store Locator Plus product. And the immediate thing that struck me was what an odd time to be sending this email when management of bulk locations in Google Business Profile Manager is a true 5-alarm dumpster fire right now. Everything is forced into this single location NMX insert editing experience. A number of fields that existed in the sort of standard dashboard experience are either not present, impossible to find, or aren't even hooked up. For example, I tried this week to change a store code on a location that had been closed so I could keep track of whether Google actually closed the location. Couldn't do it. The store code reverts back to the original. So it's just a completely broken experience right now for multi-location brands. And the timing of this email, I think, could not have been worse. That's the first thing. The second thing is then I was curious as somebody who's just generally interested in this space. What is this product? It is just horrifically executed from an SEO standpoint. It could not be worse. It's essentially a blank JavaScript template in terms of what a Google crawler would see. And so it's a bad product from the beginning. Is one thing I would say. The second thing I would say is who is the customer for this product, right? If someone, Google is trying to get a multi-location brand who is using Google Business Profile Manager to implement this store locator. The number of those brands who are only using the Google Business Profile editing experience, I'm one of them, who would implement this is very, very tiny. I recognize that. Most brands are managing their locations either using the Google Business Profile API themselves or through a third party like Uberall or Yext or whoever. All of those third parties have their own product, which is going to be A, much better from a feature standpoint, and B, much easier for that person's team, that customer's team to implement. And if you're using the Google Business Profile API yourself, your development team is sophisticated enough where you're going to want to build your own store locator using your own user experience, using your own key features that you want to highlight, integrated with a merchant feed, all those kinds of things. So it just strikes me that there's just no customer for this product, and it combined with this awful NMX experience, both for single location businesses. I think it's a massive downgrade on the dashboard editing experience, even for single locations. It certainly is for multi-location companies. I just wonder, and Mike, you brought this up in the green room, what is the product vision here? Are they doing any user testing whatsoever? Has anyone on the product or engineering team ever managed locations at any level? It's just shocking to me that such a visible that the output of such a visible product is so atrocious, and is we were also talking about the fact that apparently up to 10,000 Google employees are going to be flagged as low performing this week, and I would say flag the entire product team and engineering teams for the Google My Business and potentially even Google Maps teams right now. It is never, in my opinion, it has not been this bad for at least a decade. And I would not be sad, as I said to a couple people who were tweeting yesterday, I personally would not be sad if one of the anti-self-preferencing remedies was Google Business Profiles go away and you only show website results. I think that would not be the worst thing in the world for those of us who are trying to manage locations and even provide just basic information to consumers on a daily basis.
Well, just as a quick aside, I don't want to detract from the conversation. As a quick aside, we're going to get to see what the anti-self-preferencing looks like, because that already exists in Europe, and we may see some legislation pass in this lame duck session, but that's a different conversation. So what do you think is motivating? Go ahead, Mike.
Well, let me add to that. What is motivating Google? It's like, is this product a strategic product or a tactical product? In other words, is this product an effort to reposition themselves in the center of some ecosystem, or is it just one more trial balloon they're going to send up and discontinue in 12 months? And anybody who used it is just screwed, right? I mean, that's really to me, that's an interesting question, because if it's just a tactical product, it's gone. It's history, right?
How can it be a strategic product, given what David is saying about the ecosystem?
It could be a minimally viable product that is preparatory to them building a real page locator that allows customization and SEO and all that sort of stuff. It could be some way to drive cloud revenue. I don't really know how it could be strategic, but it's possible. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt that somebody thought about it, right? I don't know. Maybe it isn't.
One of the few places where it would be useful is for brands that are sort of distributors, right? Wholesalers that have locations that carry their products, where it's difficult to maintain this information. There's no way for those brands to verify a Google business profile for their distribution location.
That's a good point.
You mean find where to buy my product? Find what stores carry this product.
Right. From Bridgestone Tire, here's all our Bridgestone dealers, kind of thing.
Exactly. So that's a franchise. That's kind of a franchise thing, or dealer thing.
It's even
more of a dealer thing than a franchise. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But anyway, I was just going to say, I mean, I just can't imagine any brand, given the number of user edits that go live, that are impossible to deny via bulk. You have to go in and manually, in every single individual location, decline the Google edit. In many cases, the appearance of that Google edit doesn't even show up in the NMX experience. I can't imagine any brand wanting to say, oh yeah, we're going to just publish our Google business profile data right on our website. That's a terrific idea. I just don't know who the customer for this is. And again, could not be worse timing for trying to promote this product.
Hold it, Mim, you're sounding like me. What's going on here?
Sorry, I didn't attend last week's Near Memo, so I had to put out 2 weeks worth of press.
Yes, two weeks of venting. Well, so what can, there's a lot of grim tech news. I mean, what can we say that's kind of interesting on a positive note? There's just a lot of skies falling kind of stuff.
I think the Twitter product and engineering teams are far superior to Google My Business, and they should look at poaching some of the folks who Elon just canned.
Yeah, I mean, was there any news this morning about how many people declined the ultimatum? Work burnout hours or get out was the sort of the gist of it.
Yeah.
That's talk about dumpster fires.
You have no upside. You have zero upside as a Twitter employee. Your stock is no longer public. Like, who would want to do that at this stage? To work for a maniac. It's 80 hours a week.
He's teasing some sort of in private grants or something. I don't know how that would work exactly, but he's teasing some financial incentive to stick around. But next week go ahead, Mike. You wanted to say something?
I was going to say that the only good news this week is Thanksgiving.
Next week,
isn't it? Or next week? Oh shit! Oh,
yeah, today. Otherwise, it would be today.
All right, so that's the good news: is we get to spend some time with family and put all this shit.
Well, let's put
under
it
the table for
let's put it in quick perspective, right? I mean, ultimately, Thanksgiving is supposed to be about gratitude. There are things to feel grateful about: health, community, friends, loved ones. All of those things are ultimately more important than Google's NMX experience. And it's really important as we get into the minutia of all these things and people fetishize all these buttons and developments and political moves that it's just really important to keep things in perspective. So, there's a lot still, given everything to be grateful about. And hopefully you have some of those things. And we will be, yes.
And even when I'm dealing with Google, in the forums, the thing that keeps my head on straight instead of going crazy is that I am there advocating for small businesses who can't do it themselves, who don't understand it. And so that's a very positive thing for me personally, but it's amazing to me to see these businesses working so hard. So that there's that part of it. And I think that one can find that sort of positive spin on the shit show that is Google Local, that these businesses are working hard and Google's mostly helping them, but sometimes not. But, so all the family stuff, absolutely. Hey, I just came off COVID. I feel great. It's like, I can't be any luckier. And so I'm going to enjoy this Thanksgiving more than most.
Exactly. All right. Any last thoughts, David, before we sign off for the week? And we're not going to be back next week because we're taking the week off because of Thanksgiving. So anything you want to say before we go? I think his camera has frozen. So on that note, everybody have a great holiday in the US and in Europe. Keep doing what you're doing, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.